Hello, you're listening to an interview with David Scotton from the movie I Lived on Parker Avenue from episode 27 of the Catholic Vote Radio Hour. Like and subscribe to the Catholic Vote Radio Hour on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play, and follow us at Catholic Vote on Facebook and Twitter. I'm your host, Stephen Harriott. So a new movie came out recently. It's called I Lived on Parker Avenue. I just watched it, and it's just terrific. It's very moving, and it's about a subject that isn't talked about enough, which is a successful adoption and the gratitude a young man has for the life he has been given as an adoptee. And I'm speaking right now with that adopted child, now man, who is the subject of the movie I Lived on Parker Avenue, and also one of the producers, David Scotton. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So this film, throughout it, it kept occurring to me that all of us at some point in our lives were candidates for either life or death.
Right.
And that's what's really striking, is because your birth parents were not in a good spot to have a child, and the wisdom of the world told them, hey, there's an abortion clinic, that's an option. And how did they handle that?
Yeah, so that was their original plan. They, like you said, they were not able to give me the life they wanted to give me, and so they went into the abortion clinic and were seconds away from aborting me. And they heard some pro-life protesters that were talking to them from the sidewalk. And as my birth mother actually sat on the table, she just thought back to what the lady outside the clinic told her and just felt the calling to choose adoption. And so she did. And she left and chose adoption. And that's how I'm here today.
That's how you're here today, yeah. And in the movie, your mother, who hadn't seen you in 19 years since you were an infant, gets to meet you again. And not only her, but the man with whom she had you, and they weren't even very close or in each other's lives at this point. They were brought together, you brought them together, but you also brought your adoptive parents and your grandparents together, and it was just such a beautiful thing. And all of that would not have been possible. All of that could have been snuffed out. It's almost like It's a Wonderful Life, where the world, if he hadn't existed, would have been much darker.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think so. I think I say in the film, my parents' lives would have been boring without me, and I like to think that's true. So I'm just thankful every day for that decision. And like you said, the film shows us all coming together, and that was important for me. I wanted my parents and my grandparents, because I come from a very small family. I wanted them all to come with me to thank the people that gave me life. And my parents were even more excited than I was for this opportunity.
That's amazing. What has gone through your head since you started addressing this? Because you could have kind of ignored this, right, David? I mean, you could have not done anything about it. You could have never met your birth parents. You could have just gone on with sort of an ordinary life. And instead, You did this reunion and you documented it, which has been amazing and inspiring.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? What went through your head?
I always, growing up, would at random times think about my birth parents and wonder who they are. And that's the extent of my curiosity throughout really 16 years. And then when I was 16 or 17, my birth mother contacted me through the law firm in Indiana. And that's when my curiosity really skyrocketed. And so I began to talk to them on Facebook, and I decided to meet them. I wanted to see her in person and see what my life may have been like had they chosen abortion but not chosen adoption. And I wanted to thank her and my birth father for giving me life. And in no way did I ever anticipate this becoming a film. It may surprise people, but I was once a very private, quiet individual. Mm-hmm. And so to have someone come up to you and ask if it would be okay to film this really kind of caught me off guard. It's not something that I instantly wanted to do. And so I prayed about it. I thought about it for a long time and realized that we had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reclaim the beauty of adoption. Mm-hmm. And I thought there was no better way to do that than by letting this be filmed. And if this is my way to give back to the cause that gave me life, I was all for it.
Yeah. Tell me about the production process. How did this come about? I know Jason Jones and Movie to Movement were involved.
Yeah.
What is the story of this coming about?
This has really been a three-man operation for 5 years. I was approached by the executive director of Louisiana Right to Life, who also happens to be the executive director of a nonprofit called Joie de Vie Media. And he heard me share my story, and he's the one that came up to me and asked if he could film it, hire a film team to document it. And that film team was a one-man team. His name was Philip Braun, and he's a New Orleans videographer. And so it was me, Ben, and Philip for 5 years. And I went up on the train to Indiana with Philip. And then so as people started to see traction, they started to kind of see what this film's about, we were able to get more and more people on board. And that's how we met Jason. Mm-hmm. And Jason connected us with people that could help us get this film out there. And so it's been a very unique experience. because it started as one idea in a high school and has been able to reach all throughout Louisiana, all throughout the Southeast, and all throughout the U.S., really.
Well, one thing I think it's really cool also about the film is that no one involved is an activist or a political operative. It looks to me like everyone's just sort of an ordinary person telling an honest story about how the polar opposites of adoption and abortion played out in their lives. And that's very touching, because your birth mother, one of the things that stuck with her and convinced her to allow you to live, to give you adoption as an option, was an activist said to her as she was going into the abortion clinic, your baby has 10 fingers and 10 toes. And that's, I guess, ultimately what stuck in her head that made her walk out of the abortion clinic at the last minute. Isn't that right?
Right, yeah. That was. But it's also, I like what you said, that it's really non-political, it's non-religious, it's non-alienating. All we're doing is sharing a story, and that's why this has been so powerful. And we share it in an honest way. We could have sugarcoated the fact that not all of the protesters out there were that nice people. Some of them were very judgmental, and some of them hurt her, even though she didn't go through with the abortion when she was leaving the actual clinic.
Right.
And I like that we share a story and we share it in a completely transparent and genuine way. And I think that's why people like this so much.
Have you kept in touch with everyone involved after the fact? Because these people, they're in different walks of life, right? Your birth father is not married to your birth mother. They each have their own spouses. They don't live necessarily very close to one another. And then, of course, your adoptive parents and you live far away from where you came from initially.
Right.
Have you kept in touch nonetheless?
Yeah, we definitely have. So I got to go to Indiana for 4 or 5 days and see what their lives were like. And then they actually came to New Orleans later that year where I live and got to see what my family's lives are like. And that kind of filled both of the curiosity, both of the voids that all of us wanted to fill. And then since then, we've kept in touch via Facebook and FaceTime. And I've been fairly active in seeing my 2 sisters grow up. And I've really enjoyed those relationships. But at the same time, I want to respect the finality that's inherent in the adoption process. So to me, it's always important to remember and remind myself that my mom and dad are Jimmy and Susan Scotton in Metairie, Louisiana. And my birth mother and my birth father are Brian and Melissa in Indiana.
Right.
And so while I embrace and enjoy those relationships and the dynamic, and I look forward to seeing how they develop, I also want to keep those boundaries pretty stiff.
That's fair. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, where do you see yourself going next, David? I mean, you're going to be a speaker, you're going to be an activist, you're going to keep on this topic and continue to inspire people with adoption, or?
Yeah, so I'm actually a second-year law student in Louisiana. So I'm going to clerk at firms this summer, and I'll probably practice law. But I also see adoption as a very important cause in my life, as you can tell. And I'm actively still speaking around the country for the film and for other adoption causes. And so I'm going to plan on practicing law and also intertwining as much as I can all this adoption stuff that I've been so blessed and humbled to be able to do the past 5 years.
All right. Well, that's beautiful. Really inspiring. Awesome film, David. And how would you suggest our listeners follow up on this? And first of all, watch the film. Should they make use of it in some way? And how can they react to this project?
Absolutely. So our goal from the beginning was to reclaim the beauty of adoption. And all we wanted to do was share this message. So it is online for free, available for anyone and everyone to use, comment, share, give us your feedback at www.ilivedonparkerave.com. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So we're all over the place, and we're going to continue to go around the country and screen and just share the adoption message. So we'd love for everyone to go like our pages and watch the film and let us know what you think.
All right. Well, thank you again, David, for the great work you've done and will continue to do. And we'll say a prayer for you. And I can't recommend the film enough. I just watched it, and it really is terrific.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this interview from episode 27 of the Catholic Vote Radio Hour. Again, you can like and subscribe to the Catholic Vote Radio Hour on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play, and don't miss the rest of this episode. I'm your host, Stephen Harriott.